Heartbreak doesn't always scream. Sometimes it goes quiet. Nala Adeyemi learned that the hard way. She used to cry loudly once, back when tears still felt like relief. Back when she believed pain had an ending. But heartbreak had taught her a different language, one spoken in silence and restraint. Hey, beautiful people. Before we dive deeper into this amazing story today, I want to say big thanks to us all. We are now at 1,000 subscribers. I sincerely appreciate you all. Don't forget to tell me where you are listening from. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and like so I can share more heartwarming stories with you tomorrow. It is your beautiful way of supporting us. Thank you all. Love you guys. Let's begin. By the time Nala Adeyemi was 27, she no longer cried. She absorbed pain the way stone absorbs rain, patiently, without protest, until it hardened her from the inside out. She was slim in a way that spoke of discipline, not fragility. Long legs, narrow waist, smooth dark skin that caught the light softly instead of demanding it. Her beauty was not loud or inviting, it was distant, self-contained, guarded. Men noticed her constantly, but they never truly reached her. Her eyes stopped them. Those eyes had learned disappointment early. Tonight, like every other night, Nala tied her hair into a low bun before her shift, smoothing flyaways with slow, deliberate fingers. Her reflection stared back at her in the narrow mirror of the staff bathroom, composed, neutral, unreadable. No one here knew she had once believed in forever. No one knew she had once planned a wedding with ivory roses and handwritten vows, only to stand alone at the altar while whispers crawled through the room like insects. No one knew how love had been traded for status, how she had been told, "You deserve better, but I deserve more." That sentence had hollowed her out. So she worked nights now. Quiet jobs. Places where emotions were optional and silence was rewarded. The lounge was called Noir, a private members' club hidden behind tinted glass and guarded doors. It smelled of expensive liquor and secrets. The kind of place powerful men came when they wanted to be unseen, where deals were whispered instead of signed. Nala moved through it like a shadow. She wore black, always black. Long sleeves. High collar. Not to hide her body, but to protect it. To remind herself that her skin belonged to her, not to hungry eyes or careless hands. Most men looked too long. Some smiled. Some tried. She shut them all down with the same calm distance. Then he walked in. The room felt it before she did. Conversations dipped. Laughter softened. The air shifted, thickened. Dae-Hyun didn't announce himself. He didn't need to. He entered with the quiet confidence of someone who expected the world to move aside. And it did. Tall. Broad. Muscular in a way that wasn't sculpted for admiration but built for endurance. His black suit fit him like a second skin, jacket unbuttoned, collar open just enough to hint at scars along his collarbone. His face was devastatingly controlled. No smile. No arrogance. Just calm, watchful eyes that had seen too much and feared nothing. Men like him didn't belong in places like this. They owned places like this. Nala noticed him the way she noticed storms, without curiosity, without excitement, simply with awareness. She didn't rush, didn't stare, didn't falter. She brought him his drink without asking questions. Whiskey. Neat. She set the glass down with steady hands, eyes lowered politely but not submissively. "Enjoy," she said softly. That was it. She turned away. That was what caught him. Not her body. Not her face. Her indifference. Dae-Hyun watched her walk away, long strides measured and purposeful. She didn't glance back. Didn't check for approval. Didn't adjust herself under his gaze. Women always reacted to him. Fear. Desire. Curiosity. Calculation. Nala reacted like he didn't exist. Something inside his chest tightened. Unfamiliar. Unwelcome. Interesting. As the night unfolded, he observed her with the patience of a predator who wasn't hunting, but studying. He noticed how she anticipated needs without hovering, how she avoided corners and shadows, how her shoulders stiffened at raised male voices. He noticed the way she flinched, just slightly, when a glass shattered near her, and how quickly she masked it. This woman had learned how to survive. Not gently, not kindly. When another guest, drunk and careless, reached out and caught her wrist, the room seemed to freeze. Nala didn't scream. She didn't struggle. She simply went still. That stillness made Dae-Hyun stand. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't threaten. Didn't posture. Let her go. 2 words. Calm. Final. The man obeyed instantly, color draining from his face as if he'd just recognized death. Nala pulled her hand back, her expression unreadable, but something flickered in her eyes. Anger, not gratitude. Later, when the night slowed and the crowd thinned, she approached Dae-Hyun where he sat alone. "You didn't have to do that," she said quietly. He looked up at her, really looked this time. Up close, her beauty was understated but devastating. Fine features. Full lips pressed into control. Eyes that had learned not to hope. "I know," he replied. That answer unsettled her. "I don't need saving," she added. "I know," he said again. "Then why?" His gaze held hers, steady, unblinking. "Because you shouldn't have to protect yourself all the time." The words struck deeper than she expected. She swallowed. "Good night," she said, turning away before the silence could betray her. Dae-Hyun watched her disappear behind the staff doors. For the first time in years, power didn't satisfy him. For the first time in years, he wanted something he couldn't command. And Nala, walking home beneath streetlights that flickered like dying stars, didn't know it yet. But the quiet she had built her life around was about to be broken. Not by violence, not by force, but by a man who saw her wounds and decided to kneel instead of conquer. Nala noticed the pattern before she wanted to admit it. The man from Noir came back the next night. Same seat, same posture, same stillness that made the air around him feel heavier than it should have been. He didn't wave her over, didn't summon her, didn't try to catch her eye. He simply existed, and somehow that was worse. She told herself it meant nothing. Men like him were creatures of habit. Powerful men liked control, liked routine. They returned to places that obeyed them. Still she felt him. Not his gaze. She was used to being watched, but his attention. It was quieter, more patient, like he wasn't consuming her with his eyes, but learning her. She hated how aware she was of it. As she worked, Nala kept her movements efficient and distant. She didn't rush when she approached his table. Didn't soften her voice. Didn't linger. "Whiskey," she said. "Yes." That was all. When she placed the glass down, their fingers brushed, accidentally, briefly, and her body reacted before her mind could stop it. Not desire. Not fear. Recognition. Her chest tightened. She pulled her hand back instantly. Dae-Hyun noticed. He noticed everything. He noticed how she held herself together like a structure reinforced against collapse. How every gesture was controlled, measured. How she didn't trust softness, not even her own. That kind of restraint wasn't learned in comfort. It was forged in loss. The next night he returned again. And the next. Always alone. Always sober. Always watching. The staff whispered. "Who is he?" "Danger. Someone important." Nala didn't ask. She didn't want answers. Answers made things real. One night, as she finished her shift, she found a folded note waiting for her at the staff desk. No name. No number. Just 6 words, written in clean, deliberate ink. "You look like someone who survived." Her hands shook before she could stop them. Anger came first. How dare he see that? How dare he name it? She crumpled the note and threw it away, then stood there far longer than necessary, heart racing like she'd been exposed under harsh light. Outside, the night air was cool. Streetlights reflected off wet pavement as if the city itself was bleeding light. She sensed him before she saw him. Dae-Hyun stood across the street, hands in his pockets, coat dark against the shadows. He wasn't following her. He was waiting. "I don't like being studied," she said the moment she crossed. He nodded. "Neither do I." "Then stop." "I can," he replied calmly. "If you ask." That answer frustrated her more than resistance would have. "You don't know me," she said. "No," he agreed. "But I recognize pain when it refuses to perform." She scoffed. "You think you understand pain?" His jaw tightened, just slightly. "I think," he said carefully, "that people like us don't bleed loudly." That stopped her. The street hummed around them, cars passing, distant sirens, a city alive and uncaring. "What do you want?" she asked. "To make sure you get home safely," he replied. "I don't need." "I know," he said again. Always that calm certainty. "But tonight, let me." Against her better judgment, she allowed it. He didn't walk beside her. He walked behind, far enough not to crowd her, close enough that anyone watching would think twice. No touching. No pressure. Just presence. It unnerved her how much that presence settled her nerves. Days turned into weeks. Protection appeared where she didn't ask for it. Men who lingered too long suddenly disappeared. Threats dissolved before they reached her. Her landlord, once curt and dismissive, greeted her with forced politeness. Power was moving around her. Quietly, she confronted him again. "You're doing things," she accused. "Yes. You didn't ask." "I didn't need to," he said. "You're not trapped. You can walk away anytime." "Then why does it feel like you're closing in?" He stepped closer, not invading her space, but enough that she felt his gravity. "Because no one has ever stood between you and the world," he said. "And now someone is." Her voice trembled despite her effort. "I didn't ask you to care." "I know," he said softly. "That's why it matters." The words hit something fragile. She turned away, afraid he'd see the crack. Dae-Hyun watched her retreat, chest tight with something dangerously close to devotion. This wasn't conquest. This was reverence. And Nala, lying awake that night, realized something terrifying. For the first time since her heart had shattered, she felt seen. Not desired. Not rescued. Seen. And that was far more dangerous than love. Nala started noticing the changes in her life the way one notices weather. Gradually, and too late to stop it. The alley behind her apartment no longer smelled like fear. The loitering men who used to smoke there at night vanished without explanation. The broken streetlight that flickered like a dying pulse was suddenly replaced. Her landlord stopped knocking aggressively for rent and began using words like, "take your time," and "no pressure." None of it felt like coincidence. All of it felt like him. She hated that part of herself that felt relief instead of anger. At Noir, Dae-Hyun's presence had become permanent. He didn't sit anywhere else. Didn't bring guests. Didn't drink excessively. Sometimes he didn't drink at all. Just watched the room like a man counting exits and sins. Their conversations were minimal, but charged. "You didn't come last night," she said once, before she could stop herself. Something dark flickered in his eyes. Not guilt, not surprise. "I was handling something," he replied. The way he said it told her she didn't want to know what. She nodded, pretending indifference, but her pulse betrayed her. Why had she noticed his absence? Why had the night felt louder without him there? That question haunted her. Dae-Hyun. He told himself he was being careful. He told himself this wasn't weakness. But he had never monitored another human being's safety like this. Not allies. Not family. Certainly not women. Nala was different. She didn't ask for protection, and that made him want to give it more. She didn't lean into him, and that restraint made his control fray. He'd spent his entire life surrounded by people who wanted something from him. She wanted nothing. That terrified him. His men noticed. "You're distracted," his right-hand man said one night, voice low. "No," Dae-Hyun replied calmly. "You're softer." That earned a sharp look. Careful. Still, Dae-Hyun knew the truth. He hadn't killed anyone in weeks. That alone was proof something had changed. Back to Nala. The first real fracture came on a rainy night. Noir was crowded. Tension hummed under the music. Power brushed against power. Dangerous men measuring each other in silence. Nala moved through it with her usual calm until a man she didn't recognize blocked her path. "You're the one," he said, smiling without warmth. Her stomach dropped. "I don't know you," she replied evenly. "But I know you," he said. Pretty thing walking too close to fire. Before she could respond, a shadow fell over them. "Dae-Hyun. You're standing in her way," he said quietly. The man laughed. "So it's true." The word true vibrated with threat. Dae-Hyun's hand settled, not on the man, but on the table beside him. Casual. Possessive. Final. "She leaves," he said. "Now." The man stepped back. That night, Dae-Hyun didn't let her go home alone. They sat in his car, leather seats, soft lighting, silence heavy as rain hitting glass. "You're in danger," she said finally. "Yes." "Because of you." "Yes." She exhaled sharply. "Then stop coming near me." "No." The word wasn't raised. Wasn't cruel. It was honest. "I won't bring danger to your door," he continued. "But I won't leave you unguarded either. That's not your choice." He turned to her then, eyes intense but controlled. "Everything in my life is a choice," he said. "This one included." Her chest tightened. "Why me?" she whispered. "Why are you doing this?" Dae-Hyun hesitated. That hesitation scared her more than any threat. "Because you don't know how valuable you are," he said slowly. "And I don't know how to walk away from that." Silence swallowed them. She opened the door. "I won't be owned," she said. He didn't stop her. "Neither will I," he replied. That was the problem. The crack widens. After that night, things shifted. He didn't touch her, but his influence wrapped around her life like a second skin. She felt him in the quiet, in the safety, in the absence of fear. And worst of all, in the warmth. She began waiting for him. Not consciously, but her eyes searched the room for his shape. Her body relaxed when she sensed him nearby. Her nights felt lonelier when he didn't appear. She hated herself for it. One evening, exhaustion broke her discipline. "Sit," he said, gesturing to his table after her shift. She did. "You're angry," he observed. "You're controlling," she shot back. "Yes." That blunt honesty knocked the fight out of her. "But not you," he added. "Everything around you. That's worse. Only if you don't trust my intention." She laughed bitterly. "Men always have intentions." His gaze darkened. "Mine is to keep you alive," he said. "And intact." Her voice shook. "At what cost?" He leaned forward slightly. "Mine," he answered. Something in her broke then, not shattered but shifted. Dae-Hyun alone. Later that night, Dae-Hyun stood in his penthouse. City lights stretched beneath him like a kingdom of glass and bone. He replayed her expressions in his mind. Anger, fear, relief, attachment. He recognized the danger. This wasn't love. This was fixation. And fixation, unchecked, turned men like him into gods or monsters. His phone buzzed. A message. "She's being watched." The air went cold. He typed one response. "Remove the eyes." He didn't hesitate, because if the world thought touching her would bring leverage, it was about to learn what worship looked like when it bled. Nala lay awake that night, staring at her ceiling. For the first time in years, she wasn't alone. And for the first time in years, that terrified her more than abandonment ever had. The first time Nala truly understood the depth of Dae-Hyun's world, it was already too late to pretend she could walk away untouched. It began with silence. Not the peaceful kind she had learned to live with, but the wrong kind, the kind that pressed against her skin and made her instincts itch. The city outside her apartment sounded muted, as if someone had turned the volume down on life itself. She stood at her kitchen window, arms folded tightly across her chest. She hadn't seen him in 3 nights. No noir. No quiet presence behind her on the walk home. No familiar weight in the room when she entered the club. She told herself it was a relief. Her body didn't believe her. That night, as she locked her door, her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Don't panic." Her breath caught. Another message followed immediately. "Unknown number. Get your shoes. Don't bring a bag. Don't call anyone." Her fingers went cold. Before she could respond, there was a knock on the door. Firm. Controlled. Final. She opened it to find 2 men in dark coats, faces blank, eyes sharp. They didn't touch her. Didn't rush her. "She's coming with us," one said calmly. Every survival instinct screamed. "Why?" she demanded. "Because he said to bring you home." The penthouse of truths. The elevator ride was silent. Too silent. Nala stood rigid between them, heart hammering as the building climbed higher and higher, the city shrinking beneath her feet. When the doors opened, she stepped into a world of glass, steel, and quiet power. The penthouse was vast, cold, beautiful, and stained. Blood marked the marble floor near the far windows, already drying, already cleaned almost well enough. Her stomach turned. Dae-Hyun stood near the windows, shirt sleeves rolled up, hands wrapped in white bandages that were no longer white. Alive. Unhurt. But changed. He turned when he heard her breath hitch. "You shouldn't have brought her here," he said sharply to the men. "She saw nothing," one replied. "I saw enough," Nala whispered. Dae-Hyun dismissed the men with a single glance. When they were alone, the silence between them felt dangerous. "What happened?" she asked. He studied her for a long moment, like he was deciding whether honesty would ruin them or save them. "You were targeted," he said finally. Her chest tightened. "I told you this would happen." "Yes," he agreed. "And I failed to stop it early enough." Failed. That word did not belong to men like him. "Someone watched you," he continued. "Someone thought you were leverage." She swallowed hard. "And now? They're gone." The way he said it, quiet, controlled, made her blood run cold. "You killed them." "Yes." The honesty was terrifying. "You didn't have to." "Yes," he interrupted, stepping closer. "I did." Her voice shook. "For me? For touching what is not theirs." That sentence split the room open. Nala backed away. "I'm not an object." He stopped instantly. "I know," he said, voice lowering. "That's why this scared me." She stared at him, chest rising and falling rapidly. "This," she said, gesturing between them. "This is insane." "Yes." "You're dangerous." "Yes." You're not normal. No. Each answer stripped away illusion until only truth remained. She laughed, sharp and broken. So what now? I pretend I didn't see this? That I didn't hear you admit to murder. Dae-Hyun knelt. Actually knelt. The sound of his knees hitting the floor echoed through the penthouse like a gunshot. Nala froze. Men like him didn't kneel. I won't lie to you, he said, eyes level with hers from below. I won't cage you. I won't force you to stay. Her hands trembled. But I will not pretend I am safe, he continued. I am not gentle. I am not clean. He swallowed. And still, I would bleed the world dry before letting it break you. Tears burned her eyes, not from fear, but from something far more dangerous. Being chosen. Being valued. She had been loved before, but never like this. Never with truth. Never with someone who didn't pretend to be better than they were. You scare me, she whispered. That means you see me, he replied. The nightmare. Sleep didn't come. She stayed in the guest room, luxurious, silent, unfamiliar. The city lights painted moving shadows across the walls. Her body shook with delayed fear. At some point, exhaustion dragged her under. And the past found her. She dreamed of the altar. Of standing alone. Of laughter behind her back. Of hearing, you weren't enough, whispered into her ear. She woke screaming. Hands caught her shoulders instantly. Hey, Nala. Dae-Hyun. She flinched violently. He froze. I won't touch you, he said immediately. I'm here. Her breathing came in ragged gasps. They left me, she sobbed, the words tearing free after years of being buried. I gave everything. I wasn't enough. His voice broke when he answered. You were abandoned, he said softly. Those are not the same. She collapsed forward before she could stop herself, forehead pressing into his chest. He didn't move. Didn't hold her. He let her decide. After a long moment, her hands fisted in his shirt. Only then did his arms wrap around her, careful, reverent, like she was something fragile and sacred at the same time. He held her as if letting go would destroy them both. The vow without words. Later, as dawn began to bleed into the sky, they sat side by side on the floor, backs against the couch. I should leave, she said weakly. You can, he replied. She didn't move. What happens if I stay? She asked. Dae-Hyun stared out at the waking city. Then the world will always know where to aim, he said. And I will always stand in front of you. She turned to him. And if I leave? His jaw tightened. Then I will spend the rest of my life wondering if I failed you twice. That did it. She reached for his bandaged hands. This time, he didn't pull away. I don't know how to love someone like you, she whispered. His thumb brushed lightly over her knuckles, barely there. I'm not asking you to love me, he said. I'm asking you to let me earn it. Outside, the sun rose over a city that had no idea a monster had just sworn devotion. And Nala, sitting beside him, realized the most terrifying truth of all. She wasn't afraid of his darkness anymore. She was afraid of how safe she felt inside it. Morning did not fix anything. Sunlight spilled across the penthouse like forgiveness it hadn't earned, touching bloodless marble and glass walls that looked clean only because someone else had erased the mess. Nala woke slowly, disoriented, her body heavy with exhaustion and truth. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered everything at once. The messages. The blood. The kneeling. The way he had held her like letting go would break him. She sat up on the edge of the bed, bare feet touching cool floor. Her chest tightened, not with fear, but with the weight of knowing she had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. This wasn't a mistake. This was a decision. A soft knock came at the door. Nala, his voice said quietly. May I come in? The fact that he asked, still unsettled her. Yes, she replied. Dae-Hyun stepped inside dressed simply, no suit, no armor. Dark sweater. Black trousers. His bandaged hands were clean now, the red gone but the reality still there. In the daylight, he looked less like a myth and more like a man who carried too much. You slept, he said, relief flickering across his face. Eventually. Silence stretched. She expected him to fill it. He didn't. What happens today? She asked finally. He considered the question carefully. Nothing you don't choose. That answer should have comforted her. Instead, it frightened her. Because choice meant responsibility, and she had spent years protecting herself by refusing to choose anyone. I don't understand you, she said. That makes two of us, he replied, learning each other's shapes. She stayed. Not because she felt trapped. Because she wanted to see what staying meant. The day passed quietly. He worked from another room, speaking softly into phones she couldn't hear. Men came and went but never crossed her path. She noticed how the penthouse seemed to bend around her comfort, doors opening before she reached them, noise kept away, space respected. He wasn't rearranging her. He was rearranging the world. They shared meals without ceremony. Talked about nothing important. Music played low in the background, something slow and unfamiliar. She watched him move, controlled but never rushed, like a man who had trained himself not to want what he couldn't protect. "You don't look at me the way other men do," she said suddenly. He paused. "How do they look at you? Like I owe them something. And me?" She met his gaze. "Like you're afraid to touch what you respect." His breath left him slowly. "That's because I am." The honesty hit harder than desire ever could. The fear of being kept. That night, as the city glowed beneath them, the fear crept back in. "You're changing things for me," she said quietly as they stood near the windows. "My life. My routines. My safety. Yes. What if I don't want to be kept?" His jaw tightened, not in anger but restraint. "Then I will open the door myself," he said. "And I will not follow." She searched his face for deception. Found none. "And if I stay?" she asked. His voice dropped. "Then I will spend every day proving I deserve that choice." The words wrapped around her chest, warm and dangerous. No one had ever offered her devotion without demand. Her heart didn't know what to do with that. The first touch that mattered. It happened without planning. She reached for his hand while they were sitting on opposite ends of the couch, a simple gesture that felt like a confession. Her fingers brushed the edge of his bandage. He froze instantly. "Tell me if this is wrong," she whispered. His voice was rough. "I won't survive lying to you." So she didn't rush. She laid her hand fully over his, light, deliberate, intentional. The contact sent something violent through him. Not hunger, but restraint. Years of control pressed into one moment of stillness. He didn't pull her closer. Didn't tighten his grip. He let her set the pace. "I don't need you to fix me," she said quietly. "I wouldn't dare," he replied. "But I need to know," she continued, voice trembling, "that if I break again, you won't disappear." His eyes darkened. "I don't leave," he said. "I endure." Something inside her finally gave way. She leaned into him, not collapsing, not surrendering, but choosing proximity. His arm came around her slowly, carefully, as if afraid she might vanish if he moved too fast. She rested her head against his chest. His heart was steady, strong, present, and for the first time in years, Nala felt herself exhale completely. The truth she couldn't ignore. Later, in the quiet between midnight and dawn, she spoke the truth she had been circling. "You could destroy me," she said. "Yes. You could own me. Yes. You could decide my life with a word. Yes." She tilted her head back to look at him. "So why don't you?" His answer was immediate. "Because I don't want obedience," he said. "I want belief." Her throat tightened. "You believe in me," she whispered. "I worship you," he corrected softly. "And worship requires consent." Tears slipped down her cheeks, not because she was weak, but because she had never been held in power without being diminished by it. She wiped them away, embarrassed. He kissed her forehead, gentle, brief, reverent. Nothing more. Nothing less. The choice that set the fire. When she finally slept again, it was beside him. Not in his arms, but close enough to feel his warmth, close enough to know she wasn't alone. And Dae-Hyun lay awake long after, staring at the ceiling, knowing something irreversible had happened. He hadn't taken her. She had stepped toward him. That changed everything. Because now this wasn't obsession. This was responsibility. And outside the walls of the penthouse, enemies were watching, waiting for proof that the untouchable king finally had something to lose. The city did not care that Nala had finally found a place to rest her heart. The city only cared about leverage. It began the morning she stepped outside the penthouse alone for the first time. Dae-Hyun hadn't tried to stop her. "I won't cage you," he reminded her, even as his eyes followed her movements with quiet calculation. "I know," she said. "But don't pretend you're not afraid." He didn't deny it. Fear keeps people alive. His men shadowed her from a distance, so discreet she almost didn't notice. Almost. The realization sent a strange mix of irritation and comfort through her chest. She was still herself, still choosing. But the world around her had changed. And the world noticed. At Noir that night, the atmosphere was wrong. Too quiet. Too many unfamiliar faces. The music hummed, but the tension screamed. Nala felt it in her bones. A woman approached her at the bar, Well-dressed, elegant, eyes sharp with intelligence. "You're braver than you look," the woman said lightly. Nala stiffened. "Do I know you?" "No," she replied. "But many people know of you." The words chilled her. Before she could respond, a gunshot cracked through the room. Chaos exploded. Glass shattered. Screams tore through the air. Men scrambled for cover. Nala didn't think. She moved. Strong hands grabbed her from behind, dragging her through a side door and into a black vehicle idling in the alley. A hood dropped over her head before she could scream. The car sped away. The king unleashed. Dae-Hyun felt it before the call came. Something snapped, sharp and violent, inside his chest. His phone rang once. "She's gone," his man said. The room went still. For 3 seconds, nothing moved. Then hell broke loose. "Lock the city," Dae-Hyun ordered calmly. Too calmly. "Close every border. Every road. Every harbor." "Yes, sir." He stood slowly, rolling his shoulders as if preparing for war. "They wanted leverage," he said softly. "They will learn what worship costs." Bodies fell that night. Not indiscriminately, but deliberately. Dae-Hyun dismantled syndicates piece by piece, carving through layers of protection until fear spread faster than blood. He did not rage. He calculated, because rage made mistakes, and he could not afford one. Nala, the truth of his world. Nala woke tied to a chair in a concrete room. No windows. One light. 3 men. Fear clawed up her throat, but she swallowed it down. "You took the wrong person," she said evenly. One of the men laughed. "No, we took the perfect one." They asked questions she refused to answer, made threats she pretended not to hear. Each second stretched like torture. Then the door opened, and silence fell. Dae-Hyun stepped inside. Blood stained his hands. His eyes, usually controlled, distant, were something else entirely now. Wild. Focused. Devastating. He didn't speak at first. He walked to her, untied her himself, hands shaking despite his strength. "Look at me," he said softly. She did. "I'm here," she whispered. That was when the men realized their mistake. They didn't die quickly. Nala didn't watch. She closed her eyes and pressed her forehead against Dae-Hyun's chest while the sounds ended behind her. The breaking point. Back at the penthouse, she finally broke. "This is what loving you means," she said hoarsely. "Fear. Violence. Death." "Yes," he said. Her eyes filled. "I can't survive this." He knelt again, bloody, exhausted, dangerous, and lowered his head. "Then I will let you go," he said. "Even if it kills me." The words shattered her. Because she saw it then, not possession, not obsession. Devotion. She knelt too, hands gripping his face. "No," she said fiercely. "I won't let the world take you from me either." He looked up, stunned. "You choose this," he whispered. "I choose you," she said. "But you don't get to do this alone." For the first time, Dae-Hyun looked unsure. And that vulnerability changed everything. The line they crossed together. That night, they stood side by side on the balcony, city lights flickering like distant fires. "You could still walk away," he said quietly. She reached for his hand, no hesitation now. "And live half alive?" she asked. "No." He kissed her knuckles slowly, reverently. "I will worship you," he said. "Until you believe." She leaned into him, heart steady despite the chaos. And somewhere deep in the city, the remaining enemies realized too late. The mafia boss no longer fought alone. The city learned to whisper his name again. Not in fear this time, but in understanding. Kong Dae-Hyun did not disappear after the bloodshed. He did not retreat into shadows or burn the world down in grief. Instead, something far more unsettling happened. He changed the rules. Meetings moved into daylight. Guns were replaced with contracts. Enemies weren't slaughtered. They were cornered, stripped of power, and erased quietly. Those who tested him learned that mercy did not mean weakness. It meant precision. And beside him, always present but never hidden, stood Nala. Not as decoration. Not as leverage. Not as a shield. As choice. The woman who stood beside the monster. At first, people stared. They expected her to be smaller. Quieter. Afraid. Instead, they found a slim black woman with steady eyes and unshakable posture. Someone who had known loss long before power ever found her. Someone who did not bow when rooms went silent. She did not speak for him. She spoke with him. And when she didn't speak at all, her presence said enough. One evening, after a long meeting that left the air thick with tension, Nala stood at the window of the penthouse, watching the city breathe below. "You don't have to come to these," she said quietly. Dae-Hyun loosened his tie, eyes still sharp despite the hours. I want you there. She turned. Why? Because when you stand beside me, he said, I remember who I am choosing to be. That answer stayed with her long after the room emptied. The fear that never fully left. Love did not erase fear. Some nights, Nala still woke suddenly, heart racing, breath shallow, expecting sirens, gunshots, abandonment. Dae-Hyun learned the signs without her explaining them. He never asked what she dreamed. He simply reached for her hand. I'm here, he would say. Always the same words. Always true. And when his own ghosts clawed at him, faces from the past, blood he could not wash away, she stayed awake with him, grounding him in the present. They did not heal each other by pretending the damage never existed. They healed by refusing to face it alone. The offer. Months later, on a night washed in rain, Dae-Hyun took her to the highest floor of a building still under construction. No guards. No audience. Just steel beams, wind, and the city laid bare beneath them. This is dangerous, she said lightly. So am I, he replied. They stood near the edge, rain misting the air, the world far below. I was raised to believe power meant isolation, he said after a long silence. That love was a weakness to be exploited. She waited. But you didn't exploit me, he continued. You didn't fear me. You saw me. He turned to her then, not kneeling this time, but standing equal. I will never be clean, he said. I will never be simple. I know, she replied. I won't promise safety, he said. Only honesty. She stepped closer. That's all I ever wanted. He took a small box from his pocket, not ornate, not loud. Inside was a simple ring, unassuming, powerful in its restraint. This isn't ownership, he said carefully. It's not protection. It's not a cage. Her throat tightened. It's an invitation, he finished. To rule yourself beside me. Tears slid down her cheeks before she could stop them. She laughed softly through them. You didn't ask me because you need me, she said. No, he agreed. I asked because I choose you. She placed the ring back in the box, then closed his hand around it. Not yet, she said gently. But someday. He nodded, accepting without disappointment. That was worship. Until you believe. That night, wrapped in quiet and rain, Nala traced the scars along his chest as they lay together. No urgency, no hunger, just closeness. Why me? She asked again, the old question softer now. Dae-Hyun pressed his forehead to hers. Because you never asked me to be less, he said. And I never needed you to be more. She smiled, a real smile, unguarded, warm. I believe you now, she whispered. He closed his eyes, something like peace finally settling into his bones. And in a world built on fear and power, a mafia king learned the most dangerous truth of all. Love, freely chosen, was not his weakness. It was his redemption. The throne they built. Years later, people would speak of them quietly. Not as a fairy tale, but as a warning. That even monsters could kneel. That broken women could rise. That devotion, when chosen not forced, was stronger than fear. And in the quiet moments when the city slept, Dae-Hyun still kissed Nala's hands like prayer. Not because he owned her, but because he never would.